immigrants who enter the country illegally.
Republican Senator Lindsey Graham is demanding hearings on the planned withdrawals of U.S. troops, not just in Syria, but also Afghanistan. The announcement largely overshadowed by the imminent resignation of Defense Secretary James Mattis.
The man climbed the national Christmas tree and wouldn't get down. Merry Christmas, Washington.
Wow, that is Fox Square, formerly known as the Plaza. Wow. Transformed into an ice skating rink this morning.
That looks beautiful. I'm so excited.
It's unbelievable. I have goosebumps. I don't know if it's because of Foreigner or the ice rink, because my fondest memory of coming to New York City as a child, 10 years old, my parents brought me to Rockefeller Center. I said, I want to go ice skating. They said, you're a kid from Memphis. You don't know how to ice skate. I laced them up and went out anyway.
How'd it go?
No, I have no idea. I was 10.
Oh, yeah.
But it brings back, it conjures up the memories of Christmas and New York City, and I can't wait to go ice skating again. I don't know if it's going to work out well.
Are you an ice skater?
I'm all right, but I did notice producers saying that Jedediah was going to try some harder stuff. I don't know how that's going to go, guys. So if I fall, I mean, I know it's great TV, but you know what? I'll do my best. If I can stand up,
once, right?
I'll
That's what
consider
we
it a
want.
win.
Griff is a testament to if you try things on the show, it may not go well for your bodily harm.
We'll do our
This is
best.
true.
But Jedediah, Griff Jenkins, we're excited to be here with you. It's Christmas in like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Better go.
I know. You hear that? It's Rudolph. He's coming in.
No, that's Santa in his workshop, still working on it.
There are the bells. But first, there's news. I'm sorry to do this to you. I came from Washington, and I brought you some serious news. Begin with the fun things. Alert, the partial government shutdown now underway. President Trump is putting the blame on Democrats for not coming to a bipartisan agreement to fund the border wall.
Jillian Turner is live in Washington, where talks will resume this afternoon. Jillian?
That is right. Good morning, guys. So the federal government here in Washington is now partially shut down after President Trump failed to strike a deal with Democrats on funding for the border wall. This is the third shutdown of the year. President Trump took to Twitter to explain the situation to Americans, taking none of the blame. Take a listen.
Our great country must have border security. We don't want people coming in that aren't supposed to be here. We need the Democrats to give us their votes. Let's work together, let's be bipartisan, and let's get it done. The shutdown hopefully will not last long.
Now, this comes exactly 1 week after the president told Democratic leaders Schumer and Pelosi in the Oval Office that he would own any shutdown over border security. Senator Schumer indicating last night the Dems are still willing to keep on negotiating.
Democrats have offered 3 proposals to keep the government open, including a proposal offered by Leader McConnell that passed the Senate unanimously only a few days ago. We are willing to continue discussions on those proposals.
Here's the shutdown by the number. So 800,000 federal employees are affected. 420,000 will be forced to work without pay, and another 380,000 temporarily furloughed. The majority of these employees are working outside of D.C. On the upside, 75% of the government is already funded through 2019, including the Departments of Defense, Labor, Education, Health and Human Services, and the Congress. But major agencies like the Justice Department, Homeland Security, and the State Department are not. And they're going to be hit hard, guys, by this shutdown.
Jillian, thank you very much. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
so
Breaking
much.
it down for us.
You got it, guys.
I would say happy shutdown Saturday. You know, how you feeling? You waking up this morning, government shut down, your lights are still on, right?
Yep. No Armageddon.
No
as
Armageddon.
far as I can see.
Ain't happening.
Yeah.
For my 2 cents, the more D.C. is uncomfortable, the better. And, you know, I was thinking we're going to show some information about previous shutdowns. I think the one under Obama most recent to ours is 2013. I had to Google it.
Yeah.
Right.
Really, like, what do you remember about these shutdowns? Everyone got paid. Everything's fine. Everything rumbled forward. So Armageddon, not really happening.
I think what you remember is that the Democrats try to paint these scare tactics every single time. Every time something major comes up, whether you're talking about a budgetary issue, the debt, immigration, they come in with these scare tactics. And sometimes it does work in terms of, you know, how it plays out in the public. But Trump took a lot of heat initially because people thought he was walking it back and he wasn't going to dig his heels on this.
Correct.
And a lot of conservatives came out and said, hey, listen, we elected you to do this. We elect you to be the guy who actually says something and actually follows through, to be the outsider outside of Washington that actually gets stuff done. So he circled back, and it looks like he's digging his heels in, and a lot of people are hoping that he stays with those heels dug in because it's now or never.
Yeah. Well, to put it in perspective, it's happened several times before. We can put that up on the screen here if you want to see the number of them. But here's the one that I remember most recently, which was January 2018. The National Park Service didn't have trash pickup. Some employees had their cell phones cut off. You know, it was not a earth-shattering moment for the nation. We all got over it. Here is Senator Lindsey Graham talking about the president saying that what this is really about is having to break the Democrats. Take a listen.
When you make a promise to the American people, you should keep it. The one thing I like about President Trump, he's trying his best to keep his promise. He promised to build a wall, and he's going to fight hard to keep that promise. After the caravan, if you don't see the need for more border security, you're blind. And here's the problem. I think Democrats hate Trump so much they want him to lose, even though it would be good for the country to work with him on border security. And if he doesn't break them now, it's going to be a terrible 2019.
He talks about breaking them. By the way, let's not forget that both parties want to beef up security, right? They're offering $1.6 billion before we got here. The president wants $5 billion. You're talking about 0.3% of deficit spending.
Well, I really want to know what the viewers think of this. Do you support a government shutdown? Let us know. Really curious how it's impacting people out there and what they think.
Lindsey Graham also tweeted, "Dig in. Now's the time." I mean, in my mind, own the shutdown.
Yeah.
And this whole nonsense of like Chuck Schumer goes to the floor, it's like, it's Trump's shutdown.
Right.
No one gives a about that.
Yeah.
Like the reality is you can name it what you want, you can spin it what you want. The reality is, do you get a wall or not? And the Republicans like spent 2 years wasting their time. Like this is on Republicans just like it is on Democrats.
Right.
So here we are at this last crucible. Nancy's never going to do it when she controls the House. This is the last chance. Dig it in.
President
Let
Trump,
us know.
Yeah, President Trump actually coming out with a design for the wall, saying a design of our steel slat barrier, which is totally effective while at the same time beautiful. And if you look at that, a lot of people out there saying, this could work, actually.
Well, you know why there's part of the reason why the steel slat versus the wall versus this is because if you get $1.6 billion as it's currently written, it has to be a design that was already approved by Congress. Steel slats already approved by Congress, so you can get a wall. If you get the $5 billion for wall funding, then it can become the prototypes that the president wanted. So it's all Washington semantics and differences. Listen, a wall like that seems like it works pretty darn well.
Those Washington semantics, though, the American people get one thing, and that is that we need to do something on our border. When you hear the head of the Border Patrol, the head of the CBP saying that we have a problem that is spiraling out of control and we have to address it, whether it's steel slats, whether it's even a concrete wall, which is what the Democrats wanted to really make this a negative political football, you either address it or you don't. And what you're talking about, as Chad Pergram pointed out, our resident Capitol Hill expert, we're talking about pocket lint in terms of the numbers of dollars that would be spent on trying to achieve this goal, which is now really the shutdown is becoming a bit of a farce.
Chuck and Nancy said the wall is expensive and ineffective. You know when you text somebody and you're like, ha, 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 ha?
Yeah.
Like, I want to be like, Chuck and Nancy, is that a joke? Expensive, to your point, it's a rounding error. Ineffective. Everywhere walls are used, they end up working.
That's exactly
right.
right.
People know that.
But we have reaction actually from both sides on this. We have a tweet from Roland Scahill. Trump added the death spikes to his fence to appease his bloodthirsty base of idiots.
Yeah, well, Roland, you're an idiot. And Cambry tweeted this: I don't care if the wall is see-through or has spikes on top, just build it. This is crucial, especially in places where our border has no fencing, barrier, and leaves our country wide open. I'll take whatever, make it happen. So the media wants to run around and say, well, he's compromising. The reality is his supporters just want a physical barrier that can be overseen by agents that doesn't allow people to just run in.
His supporters want the humanitarian crisis addressed at the border, and they should frame it as such. They shouldn't. They always talk about, Republicans aren't compassionate. No, it is compassionate to care about the fact that so many people from other countries are crossing over, being incentivized to cross over illegally, and during horrific conditions. Border security is national security, but it's also fixing a humanitarian crisis, and Republicans should not ignore that point.
Well, and no one's become more outraged about this in sort of a insensitive way than Jimmy Kimmel on Thursday night, who had this to say. Take a listen.
There are some very dopey people ready to pay for it themselves. This is what people do with their disposable income when they don't have loans from college to pay off. Donating money for a wall that will never exist. It's like starting a college fund for Harry Potter. A more useful thing to do with your money would be to go outside and feed it to a bird. But you do have to admire the sacrifice they're making. I mean, a lot of these people are dipping into their meth money for this.
Actually, I watched this clip on the way in. I dipped into my meth money, and I donated $200 to the GoFundMe page on the way in.
Really?
Yeah. Listen, people are done. Washington can't get it done. Watch this. This GoFundMe page has like $5 or $6 million right now.
Yeah.
If Washington won't get it done, American citizens want to get it done.
Also
one way or the other.
Sad though, Pete, that American citizens feel the need to step in and do the job that the federal government should be doing.
Shocking.
And also horrifically offensive to me that he would make fun of people for doing so and wanting to care about border security and national security.
Well, we want to know what you think. Email us at friends@foxnews.com and tell us, what do you think? Are you, like Pete, happy that there's a shutdown going on?
And, hold on.
What do you think of Kimmel?
And we're going to put our researchers on it. Does Jimmy Kimmel have a wall around his house?
Yeah, does he have security? That's good. We're going to turn now to some headlines for you. The fiancé of a missing Colorado mom appears in court charged with her murder. Patrick Frazie's arrest comes 1 month after Kelsey Barrett vanished on Thanksgiving Day. Her body has not been found, but no word on what evidence led to Frazie's arrest.
As you can tell from the arrest, sadly, we do not believe Kelsey is still alive. Investigators have recovered a number of items that make us suspicious that the crime did occur at Kelsey's residence.
After her disappearance, Barrett's phone was tracked in Idaho, about 800 miles away. Frazee was also charged with solicitation. Police are not ruling out a second arrest. Flights are taking off this morning at London's Gatwick Airport, but delays could still be expected overnight. Police making 2 arrests, charging a man and woman with criminal use of drones. The suspicious drone sightings grounded all planes this week, stranding more than 100,000 passengers for 3 days. Police say there are no signs that this is terror-related. A 4-legged Santa Claus isn't letting anyone on the naughty list off the hook. A canine officer dressed as Santa takes down 3 suspects in one night. Oregon deputies say Canine Stark now holds the new record with 186 captures. He dresses up in several costumes, especially for Halloween and 4th of July. And those are your headlines. That's adorable.
That's
I
awesome.
love a dressed up dog, I gotta say.
When you get caught by Santa Claus dog,
that's true.
a rough Santa Claus
that is
for
rough.
you.
Good stuff.
Right.
We've got more. Look, should the president keep the government shut down until January? Some say that's not long enough. Well, we'll ask Ned Ryan. He's got thoughts on it.
Plus, he once welcomed refugees with open arms. But now Justin from Canada is blaming Trump for his country's immigration crisis. Really?
And you can't top the Christmas classics. And a new poll is proving it. How Americans are choosing Christmas carols over the Billboard hits. That's coming up.
Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle, jingle, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is. On Fox.
A Fox News alert, a partial shutdown now underway. But a new op-ed argues the fight for the wall should continue into January. So is the shutdown the GOP's last chance to push for border security?
Here to react, former presidential speechwriter Ned Ryan. Ned, great to have you here.
Good to be with you guys.
So what do you think? Should this push through January to February? How long should this go on?
As long as necessary. If it has to go for months, it goes for months. I mean, it's mind-blowingly stupid that we've even gotten to this point, but that's Congress for you, and they want to keep kicking the can down the road, and Trump has said absolutely not. We're going to have this conversation. Let's not forget, back in March, when he signed that god-awful omnibus bill, he was promised by leadership, we will get you funding for the wall, and here we are in December, and they weren't going to give him any funding. I think it's rather shameful that Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan even suggested that you have a continuing resolution that pushes this back till February. You mean when Nancy Pelosi is Speaker and there's a snowball's chance in hell of getting any funding for the wall? No, the time to fight is now. You shut down government. Quite frankly, I wrote an op-ed for Fox earlier this week. Shut down the southern border. We have to fix our immigration system. We have to secure our southern borders. And the reason we have to do this, if you look just a little bit down the road, just a couple years down the road with mass automation and we're bringing in all these illegal immigrants, our welfare system is broken. We have a lot of problems in our very near future if we don't deal with this. And the other thing, Griff, I'll say is this. $5.7 billion out of a $4 trillion annual budget, and we can't find any money. We can find the money. It has nothing to do with that. They don't want to give them a win, and they have to kowtow to their far-left base.
And that's the absolute center of the farce of this. But let me put up a quote from Roy Murdoch's op-ed, right? Here's what he says. He says, postmen deliver the mail throughout the Yuletide. Members of Congress should labor at least as hard. If a solution is not reached by New Year's Eve, another continuing resolution should fund the government through January 3rd, giving the Republican Congress 3 more days to fix this mess before Pelosi and the resistance take over. You're on the same page.
Oh, 100%. I mean, literally, if Trump had not said, I will shut everything down, again, Congress would have kept pushing, kicking the can down the road. We have to have this conversation now because you know Democrats are not going to be serious about this. They are they're pleased with our broken immigration system for a whole wide variety of reasons. They have no intention of actually securing our border. And again, it points out really what hypocrites they are on this. When you think back, Chuck Schumer voting for the Yuma sector wall, they voted for $46 billion packages before for building 700-800 miles of border fence. They don't want to do that now for a variety of reasons. And they're not going to do any funding when they seize control of the House. If we don't fight now, we're going to regret it.
If you had to make a prediction for how this lands, who caves? Does someone cave? Do they meet in the middle on a final number?
I think probably what's going to happen, again, politics is the art of compromise. I think there's going to be some sort of compromise. Perhaps we're looking at $4 to $4.5 billion, as DeRoy mentioned. I think there's going to be some figure that comes out where both are going to be able to claim some sort of victory. But this is important for Trump to win because, again, let's not forget, this is one of the reasons that he was actually elected. Build the southern wall.
That's right. Thanks, Ned. Listen, Merry Christmas to you. And you were spot on.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Merry Christmas.
What happens here is going to foreshadow 2020. We're almost already there.
For sure.
All right, still ahead, the president announcing that he plans to pull troops from Syria and Afghanistan. And some of the president's critics outraged. But what did those who fight the wars think? Our military panel weighs in.
Plus, a Los Angeles highway just named for former President Obama, but another city's push to do the same, hitting some major traffic.
Good Saturday morning. Some quick headlines for you. The Supreme Court rejects the Trump administration's asylum ban. The policy would forbid immigrants who illegally cross the U.S.-Mexico border from seeking asylum. The court upheld a federal judge's order who says that the ban, quote, irreconcilably conflicts with immigration law. And now to our northern border. Justin Trudeau blaming the U.S. for an influx of illegal immigrants that he invited.
People are fleeing the United States right now or choosing to leave the United States right now. It's not something I said. It is perhaps domestic realities within the political context in the United States that is driving people to move.
In 2017, he sent a tweet welcoming all newcomers to Canada. Pete?
Thank you, Griff. Appreciate it. Well, the Trump administration working to pull all troops out from Syria, and now reportedly half of the 14,000 troops currently stationed in Afghanistan. So what do those who fight the wars think of a reduced presence overseas? Let's bring in our military panel to react. Jim Hansen, president of Security Studies Group and served in the U.S. Army Special Forces and conducted counterterrorism operations. We've got Joey Jones, retired U.S. Marine Corps bomb technician who sacrificed greatly for this nation, and Vincent Hill, former U.S. Army sergeant. Thank you, gentlemen, all for being here. I'm going to put my cards on the table. I'm very conflicted about this. There's a tactical reality. There's a strategic reality. There's a lot of factors that come into play about why we should not withdraw from some of these places. Jim, I'm going to start with you, and I want to get all of your thoughts overall. Syria, Afghanistan, good idea to leave, and what are the impacts?
Well, there's a lot of people acting like President Trump announcing a withdrawal from Syria was a grand surprise. He's been talking about this for a long time, and this spring we worked with the NSC on some ways to leave Syria that would not cause a major debacle. Those included having our Gulf allies in the region help, and both Saudi Arabia and the UAE have now contributed resources and sent troops last month. In addition, we said that we need to pull Turkey back into our orbit. They've been drifting toward Russia and Iran, and President Trump took an opportunity to work with Erdogan to get a deal to sell them Patriot missiles and hopefully replace the Russian ones they were going to buy.
Yeah, but Erdogan is like sort of basically an Islamist and dictator at this point. He's moving in that direction. Can we really count on that?
We're going to find out, but we had to try. You know, they're a NATO ally. So we either had to push them away or pull them in. And at this point, what we need to do with them is ask them to provide security on the northern border, to take it easy on the Kurds, our allies, who they have a problem with, and to go ahead and be useful in limiting Iran's influence. If they do those things, yes. If they don't, then we'll know where they stand.
Yeah. Joey, your thoughts?
Well, it's a good idea to stick to the rhetoric and the policy that you set forth in your election in 2016. It's a good idea to try something different in the Middle East. You know, I deployed 5 years after President Bush declared victory. I deployed months after President Obama declared that we would pull out of Afghanistan. So in Iraq and Afghanistan, I was a part of staying longer than we needed to, or staying without a set goal or mission. What I would say is that it's the responsibility of General Mattis and the generals to want to go after our enemy in their infancy and in their retreat, to kill them and eliminate them. But it's the responsibility of a president to see past the X's and O's sometimes. If we elected this man into office, we should have some faith in his foreign policy. We should always be skeptical. But what I am most bothered by is where was all this rhetoric and vehement response when we had men and women there for years at a time? It seems to me that people only get heated when they're reminded that we're at war, because we're pulling people home, and it might go against some of the policy that people don't truly understand.
Good point.
We don't say what the mission is.
Joey, some of it feels disingenuous. Vincent, your take?
Absolutely.
Pete, I think we can all agree we're all conflicted here. Now, to the president's point, when is enough? When do we bring our troops home? Absolutely. But, for example, Atlanta lost the Super Bowl by having a 25-point lead because the defense in the second half wasn't in the fight there. So if we take the defense out of this fight, where does that leave us? I think everyone is more concerned with what is the plan with this with the withdrawal here. How do we make sure that we don't get back to where we were? And I think that's what everyone is focused on. We need a clear-cut plan on what the withdrawal will entail.
Yeah, Jim, I mean, to you briefly, because you mentioned UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey as the folks that are going to fill the vacuum for us. A lot of Americans watching this program are saying, whoa, that doesn't sound like much of a solution to me.
But the bottom line is, are we going to leave U.S. troops there indefinitely? That wasn't the mission. The mission was to kill ISIS. Now, there's a couple other things we need to worry about. Qatar has been funding al-Qaeda in Syria for a long time. They're supposed to be an ally. We have a base there. We need to put serious pressure on them because they're not acting like an ally. So if we take the people who are causing trouble in the region and we ask the people who live there to help a little bit, both Israel and France have also agreed to step up. So it doesn't always have to be the U.S. Sometimes the other folks who have, you know, a dog in this fight can go ahead and help as well.
That's an important point. I mean, at what point do regional actors actually take responsibility for what's happening in their backyard as opposed to just outsourcing it to the United States of America? Jim, Joey, Vincent, wish we had more time. We'll bring you guys back. Appreciate it. A debate that will continue, for sure. Thank you, guys. All right, well, it's video you have to see to believe. A car goes airborne, you saw it, launching right into the top of a tunnel. And what's really shocking is what happened to the driver. Plus, a controversial Christmas display. Baby Jesus behind bars in a ICE detainment cage. We're not kidding. We'll bring it to you. And we're getting, I can't get past that story to read now.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go. Take a look at the 5 and 10, glistening once again.
I'm never taking this sweater
It is
off.
beginning to look a lot like Christmas here on Fox and Friends weekend. In case you didn't know, it's the weekend. And Griff's got it going on. You know, we've got our ugly Christmas sweaters on. What's the website, guys? Ugly sweaters.
Uglychristmassweaters.com.
If you want your own, go get them. Because they're awesome.
Yeah, and mine has a unicorn that I've named Greg Gutfeld. So.
It was not a difficult website to remember, but I forgot it. This is my, it's going to be huge.
Yeah, and just so you know, there's a tail.
There is a tail on
legs.
this.
This is
which
really,
is Velcro. This is a serious.
This is. I don't play around.
This is the one that I would wear around New York City for literally the rest of the weekend. This is really, really cool. UglyChristmasSweaters.com.
Cool.
You know, you were playing Johnny Mathis coming in. It reminded me, I started my career as a very young person in my 20s.
Hope you didn't start your career as an old person.
At Christmas time, I would be playing the Christmas songs. And boy, I'll tell you, nothing gets you in the mood. And so we've got a poll here for your favorite Christmas songs. Take a look, right? 12% say Silent Night, 8% say Jingle Bells, 5% say White Christmas, 5% say Baby It's Cold Outside, 4% say Oh Holy Night, 3% say All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Oh, I like that one. All I Want for Christmas Is You.
There we go.
There we go.
One should point out that the majority. Keep playing, please. The majority of these songs are sort of traditional Christmas songs, not like poppy little holiday, Santa Claus, Rudolph. Because that stuff is, people are actually attached to the meaning of what Christmas is. Most Americans,
I think All I Want for Christmas Is You blends a little bit of the traditional and the pop culture world, but something about this music just makes you feel good, right? I feel like we should play it year round just to get in a good mood.
Whoa, no. You do too much of a good thing, it's a problem.
Well, listen, Christmas music could stand to go a little longer, in my opinion, with a unicorn
Email us,
sweater.
let us know. But this one's my favorite. I'm a big Aaron Neville fan.
It's a good one.
Bells will be ringing. The sad news.
Hey, microphone.
Oh,
wait, Christmas.
Is that a classic, though? We need to settle this right here. This morning on Saturday morning. Email us at friends@foxnews.com. Are you more of the Pete Aaron Neville, or are you like the traditional song?
And let us know what your favorite Christmas song is. I'm curious if you guys have
It's not
any
clear
ones that
that's a
aren't on the
classic.
list.
I kind of contradicted myself, but
It's a classic.
it's my favorite. Thank you.
All right, we're going to get to some headlines for you now. Watch this stunning video. A BMW goes airborne after striking a barrier. Sparks shoot out from underneath the car as it hits the top of a tunnel, then flips 360 degrees before coming to a stop. The driver walking away with only minor injuries. The crash in Slovakia leaving the BMW crushed and mangled. Police believe the driver fell asleep at the wheel. A referee sparked a firestorm of controversy at a high school wrestling match. New Jersey teen Andrew Johnson forced to cut his dreadlocks before a match or forfeit. The ref said Johnson's hair and headgear violated rules and regulations, but many say this is a clear case of racial bias. Johnson won the match, but the referee is now barred from officiating any more matches until the incident is investigated.
Whoa.
This nativity scene has baby Jesus locked in an ice detainment cage. The couple building the controversial display says it's a protest against President Trump's immigration policies.
Making a statement because during this holiday season, no matter what country you live in, no matter what your ethnicity is, you should be with your family at this time. And unfortunately, our country in recent history has decided to separate families.
In last year's display, the Austin, Texas couple depicted the president as the Grinch. A British man realizes he's a millionaire right in time for Christmas. Andrew Clark finding a lottery ticket worth about $86 million in his car 6 weeks after he hit the jackpot. He tucked the ticket away in his visor and only checked the numbers after his girlfriend pressured him to do so. Good job, girlfriend. Clark now plans on taking early retirement and helping his family and friends.
His girlfriend will soon become his wife.
There you go.
We're going to have the
Deserve
Grinch on the program or later on, and I've never seen anyone read headlines while holding on to a unicorn.
I try to, do the first of everything here, so now you've got headline unicorn.
Well done. I'm over here
UglyChristmasSweater.com.
I'm taking a photo of Rick's ugly Christmas sweater because I'm not quite sure what he's got on over there.
I feel like there's a Jack-in-the-Box or something.
Wait. You know what I tried? It's not like a working jack, but it does.
Looks good there.
Oh! Fantastic.
Not bad, right? I like it. It's not the most comfortable sweater I've ever worn.
Yeah, it suits you though, Rick. It suits you.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right, guys, let's talk a little bit of weather. I feel strange doing this. Big storm we had across parts of the east yesterday. That is almost gone. We still have a little bit of moisture across parts of New England, but that will be out of here. Cooler air and still breezy conditions. Maybe a few delays in the airports across the Northeast because of that wind, and we'll have leftover delays from the big storm yesterday. But aside from that, most of the country is looking good. Yesterday was the worst of the travel days. Today, good. We have more moisture coming in later on today across the Pacific Northwest. Tomorrow, another day that's looking good. Pacific Northwest, our only spot where we'll have any problems. The rest of the country, no airport delays. The roads are going to be looking good as well. If you're thinking, all right, I want a white Christmas, maybe if you have some snow out there already, you'll have a little bit, but this is the precipitation that will fall through Tuesday. No going anywhere across the east. Out across the west, we'll have a better chance of a white Christmas in Arizona than we will around here, guys.
Rick, stuff Santa back in the box. That's where he's not coming out of the chimney quite yet.
Oh,
that's
boy.
a chimney, I think, in the front, right?
Yeah.
And
I never saw that.
Yeah,
He's gearing up. He's got to gear up.
I was watching very closely, as I always do, your weather and you during your weather.
Yes,
Right.
you want my job.
I do. I kind of secretly want Rick's job. And Jedediah was holding the unicorn the entire time.
He needs a lot of affection.
We have a very special relationship.
Greg Gutfeld is very demanding. What can I say?
Those are great.
That's what I named him.
UglyChristmasSweaters.com, those guys.
Love it.
Well
All
done.
right. I'm going to try to read some serious headlines in a huge Christmas sweater here. Louis Farrakhan, yeah, you know him. He's known for his hateful rhetoric.
Synagogue of Satan, the satanic Jews, because you see white people deserve to die.
Yeah. Now his group, the Nation of Islam, is defending using taxpayer money to preach to inmates. That'll end well. We discuss coming up next.
And President Trump takes a jab at a possible 2020 challenger, Beto O'Rourke.
His name is,
you know him.
I think his name is Robert. Yeah, Robert Francis.
Shut on your flame to the fire. It's spraying like your name on a flyer.
Good morning. Some quick headlines for you. Former President Obama facing pushback over a proposal to name a Chicago highway in his honor. Mayor candidate Bill Daley wants the Dan Ryan Expressway to be renamed after his former boss. Despite a section of the interstate already partially named for Obama, there are concerns having a second stretch would confuse drivers. This, President Trump takes a jab at potential 2020 contender Beto O'Rourke.
Congratulations on your race. You won easily. And now he's running for president. I thought you were supposed to win before you run for president, no?
President thanking Texas Senator Ted Cruz for his work on a criminal justice reform bill while highlighting his victory over Congressman O'Rourke. Jedediah, Pete?
Louis Farrakhan has long been known for his hateful rhetoric.
Synagogue of Satan, the satanic Jews, because you see white people deserve to die.
Oh, no. But now his group, the Nation of Islam, is using your taxpayer money to preach to inmates. So why would the government think this is a good idea?
Here now to react is founder and president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. Dr. Jasser, what do you make of this? I know a lot of people would be outraged to see their tax dollars going to an organization with a leader who has said such horrific things about other religions.
Well, every alarm bell should go off possible. And we've been, us reformists have been calling for attention to the radicalism that taxpayers have been paying for back from 2004 and 2005 when the Investigative Project on Terrorism put out audios of imams basically calling for jihad that were working for the Bureau in northern New York that then actually found cells when they left to commit acts of terror that were arrested in New York City and elsewhere. We saw recently with the attack just 2 weeks ago in Strasbourg, they were radicalized in prison. We saw 2 years ago in the Berlin Christmas attack, it was also radicalized in prison. So this is not new science, it's not new information. We just sort of have a bigotry of low expectations when it comes to Muslims. We'll let them just talk to the radical imam of Minister Farrakhan, the anti-Semite, the conspiracy fascist. It doesn't matter, it's just Muslims. Well, we need to hold us Muslims accountable to the same standards we hold everybody else. The American taxpayer should not fund their own demise of our society. And we need a whole of government approach to radical Islam. We don't. So every little every little corner of government, the prisons, the military, etc., all separate out into just political correctness rather than dealing with the ideology.
You're right. And, Doctor, the left defends them and enables that radicalization. You're entirely right. This is what the Nation of Islam says in defending the federal funding. They say, the Nation of Islam, which is comprised of tax-paying citizens, has a right to do business with the American government. The work of the Nation of Islam is a great benefit and blessing to the American penal system. So it's a black nationalist group led by Louis Farrakhan who said these terrible things. What justification, truly, if you're a lawmaker, what's your justification for funding something like this in our prisons?
There isn't one. They simply are treating Muslims with a bigotry of low expectations. They're simply not holding us accountable. Where are the other Muslims saying, you know what, Louis Farrakhan doesn't speak for us? Where are the other Muslims that reject the idea that his...
Good morning, guys. Sorry I didn't wear my ugly sweater, by the way. Tip number one. Yeah, tip number one is take advantage of your standard deduction. It has doubled since last year because of tax reform. It's now $12,000 for individuals, $24,000 for married filing jointly. 30% of Americans are expected to not itemize this year, so you may save yourself a lot of time and a lot of effort by just taking the standard deduction. Talk to your accountant or look at your accounting tax software. Hopefully that will help you make that decision.
Yeah, good stuff. The second tip you have is moving money into your 401k. Why?
You got it. Best tax savings around, guys, is to save money for retirement, put it into your 401k or an IRA. You can put up to $18,500 into your 401k if your company offers it, or about $5,500 into your IRA. Pre-tax stuff, it will save you lots of money and put money away for retirement.
Tip number 3, bunch charitable donations. Why do that?
Yeah, if you do decide to itemize, guys, and you don't take that standard deduction, charitable deductions are a great way to give back something for Christmas and get a tax deduction too. Just remember, it doesn't have to be cash. It can be a car, it can be old clothes, it could be something lying around the house. Just get a fair market value for it and you can get a big tax deduction.
And Gene, number 4 should come as common sense perhaps, but it's sell losing investments.
Yeah, you know, one of the upsides, if there are any, about the stock market declining is some people are having some losing stocks this year. Well, if you've got gains elsewhere and you decide to sell those, you can offset those gains with some of the losses that you incurred on some other stocks. So, although none of us like to see the stock market go down, it may be an opportunity
Hold on, Gene.
for you to save some
Does that
taxes.
mean I could write off some of my Bitcoin losses? 'Cause I'm not letting them go yet.
Get out of Bitcoin, please. Not a safe
Gene.
investment.
Gene, I'm in for the long haul. But we'll move on to point number 5. Prepay or defer income. What's that mean?
Yeah, this is an old school piece of advice, but listen, I mean, the smart people around, they try to push income into the future and bring expenses currently. If you've got a mortgage deduction, for example, and you can still take that deduction because it is limited, try and bring it in and prepay it if you can. And if you've got income that you think you might be getting this year, but you can defer it to 2019, go ahead and do it. Pay taxes for it next year and avoid it this year.
All right.
Thanks so much for helping.